Just a slight tangent on that.
This is far too much of a tangent. Just a brief interruption.
Can I also say one more thing on this?
But we also need to impose some rules. Like, we can't just have 20-minute tangents over a text.
Come on. That's just refusal to consider the circumstances. We're not going to entertain that, Joe.
This conversation is not a good one, I think. Do we argue much?
No, we keep them inside.
Fester.
See, I thought this was a ridiculous text until I read the top three, and then I thought, do you know what? I'd actually debate that with you. It is an interesting... Sorry, it's not an interesting question, but...
Let's make that clear.
I love the sound of a snooker referee counting up the score.
Now, welcome along. A slight tangent coming at you on a Tuesday evening. 53106, the text number. You can email us at aslighttangent@offtheball.com anytime during the week. Mick McCarthy is still here. Will O'Callaghan is here. Hello.
Evening, lads.
And Arthur O'D. Good evening, Arthur.
Evening, Joe.
We're in our Sunday home, this studio.
Absolutely.
This is where we spend our Sundays, so it's nice to have you all here. We were just talking to David Brady in the last hour. A man who improves the mood of any room he's in by at least 15%, I would think.
Well, that's what I was saying. I walked over just because I wanted to hear the start of it. It's going to be good. He's going to come in. He's going to come in hot. He's going to come in good form.
It's just great. And I love at one stage he was like, look, I've talked to you many times about wanting to get back into it. I was like, no, we haven't had that conversation. We literally never talked about it. But
we need a best of DB supercut at some point. I think we cut some. Remember
a couple already.
Yeah, the Lerca Gale conversation that you guys had. We did a mini montage for that.
Oh yeah.
I think we need to put that together with the story about his car and the All Ireland tickets and the Jim McGuinness story and put it into one big supercut.
The greatest hits.
Yeah.
Text in on the conversation. The GAA is super. It should get more time. Something very nice about that. We had Eddie Brennan last night, so we tried to cover the club championships from the weekend in various ways. And then I think a fair enough point Colin Dublin makes. Dunted, schmozzle, assault, all the acceptable and almost laughed off by some elements. All acceptable and almost laughed off by some elements in the GAA these days without any serious consequences, it seems, Colin Dublin. To a point, I mean, I did say to David, to be fair, look, we need to get away from this. But he was downplaying it, so I think he's entitled to say what his experience was. He didn't think it was that big a deal.
Isn't it a tough one, though? Because we're having these conversations at the moment about referees and, you know, just sort of sideline atmosphere. There was a very good panel on Off the Ball a couple of weeks ago about, like, silent sidelines and everything like this, and parents being out of control. All of these things are so real and they need to be sorted. And yet there's still an instinct in us. I don't know whether it's based on socialisation, having watched GAA all our lives and been part of games and on sidelines, where you kind of think a little bit of argy-bargy is kind of no big deal, and it can be just like, it can be forgotten about minutes after it happens. I think there is a line where both are true, by the way, but I really feel the culture change is so necessary now that maybe we need to go harder on stuff that might have been considered harmless.
Yeah, look, it's hard there when David Brady is saying he didn't have a major issue with it to say, well, you should have had more of an issue. And equally, I thought the apology from Conor Gillespie was very refreshing. I mean,
yes,
he just came out straight away and said,
yeah.
I did it, it was completely my fault, it was wrong, it was bad. There was no sense of, look, heat of the moment, and it wasn't that big a deal. He kind of took full responsibility. So sometimes an apology is just so disarmingly good. A bit like Vera Pauw last week. Yeah. You kind of afterwards, you're like, well, okay, that's pretty comprehensive.
I think Brady diffused the situation quite a bit in the chat that he had with Aisling O'Reilly after the game too.
Yeah.
I know he joked off a little bit about the fact that he was wearing runners, which is possibly why he hit the ground as quickly as he did. But he was very quick to say, look, I should not have got involved in the first place, and I got a bit of a dunt, I hit the ground, we move on, rather than it becoming a bigger issue.
Yeah, he did his counterpart a favour, I think, there. Just, again, that's probably part of that GAA fraternity, and look, it happened, and we'll leave it and forget about it. So that's
in fact the more criticism rather than a push or a shoulder is probably for hitting the ground and this idea that you've gone down a bit too easily, which maybe that's something we might have to change when it comes to the culture.
He did go down too easily though.
100%.
He looks sore.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing.
It wasn't pleasant.
No, it wasn't nothing.
He really hit the ground.
I mean there will have to be action, I think, if we're asking for consistency.
Was it just a case of, so did he slip? I don't know if the hit was that hard, because it was an unusual kind of...
I think he half dodged the hit.
Okay.
But there was enough force in the hit for it to be looked at, I think. Unfortunately, is the reality, as good and all as the apology was, I think if we're looking for consistency, then it did strike me as, oh, okay, Dave Brady's played it down, everyone's played it down, but there's not nothing in this either, you know.
He took a shoulder, John. I'm just not sure exactly where contact is. I saw some people have slowed it down. It looks like maybe it caught him kind of high in the chest, that kind of area. Obviously, if you're not expecting a dunt, and in this case, he seems to have tried to move at the very last second, the chance of hitting the deck are pretty high.
Yeah. So loads to get through, loads to chat about between 8 and 9 o'clock. You'll get us on 53106. There's an email I want to get to in just one moment. Other news brought to us by Arthur. I'm presuming you're excited by this. Joan,
He doesn't know what it is.
look at me blankly.
No, it's okay. Go on.
Jonah Hill
Yeah.
is to play
Yeah.
John Daly.
Grip it and rip it.
Everything about this screams
That'd be
amazing.
great.
Amazing.
I didn't actually see. Do we know who directing it?
I think Jonah Hill might be.
Oh, you do. Okay. Cool.
Or sorry, no, he mentioned a director he'd worked with previously. It's not Martin Scorsese anyway.
No.
Also, is this going to be serious Jonah Hill or is this going to be comedic Jonah Hill?
Oh, I think
Bit of
very
both.
serious, I think.
That's gonna be class.
Serious
With a bit of
Jonah Hill's
madness
good.
in there,
Yeah,
I would imagine. Yeah, but he's a good actor. Yeah.
What a story, though.
Is John Daly somebody who's worth a movie?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And the sequel.
Just feel like we know it. It's hard to play. It's hard to play people that people know really well. You know, John Daly's been in our lives in real documentary form, I suppose. You know, since he's burst onto the scene in 1991.
Like, it's not to glorify him. I think there'll be skeletons here
Yeah.
and bad moments here. But even if you take the story of his first ever major win, are you familiar with that?
No, I don't think so.
Like this, so you could
91.
just make a movie about this. So 1991, John Daly is very much up and coming, hits the ball a bazillion miles before there was ever Tiger Woods who could hit the ball miles. I mean, you watch his topswing at the back and the club is almost down at his waist. It's so far behind him. And he is the 9th alternate to get into the major. So like he's just a jobbing pro at this stage, trying to make his way. He's from poor background and he's 9th alternate. So he's not going to play in the major in effect. And one by one in the build-up to the week, other players start crying off.
Which major was it? Sorry.
The 1991 PGA.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so the Wanamaker, the big one, the Portrait Carrington, it's that huge trophy, one of the 4 majors. And so eventually it gets down to, well, the other 8 who were ahead of him are in the tournament now because there have been drop-offs for injuries or different reasons. Often happens. And Nick Price has to suddenly drop everything because his wife is about to give birth. He says to Daly, you might as well take my caddy. You know, John, this is my caddy. Caddy, this is John. And, you know, after the caddy says to him, well, I'll have a look at your swing. I'll figure out your yardages as we go. And we'll have a bit of fun here. You're in the tournament. Well, hey, and John Daly trounces the field. That's how he wins his first major.
That's incredible.
That alone is a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll almost be too. God, you wouldn't believe. I can't believe he went on and still had the same relevance afterwards.
And then that
That'd almost be-
gets him a 5-year exemption, and then in '95 he wins the Open.
That's
Like,
St.
I don't
Andrews.
know what he was playing at that time, but would he have automatically been in majors at that stage? Because he was so inconsistent.
No, he
you
wouldn't have been.
say so.
And like
Yeah.
the weird thing about Daly is, I mean, there's incredible gambling losses, like
Yeah.
eye-watering, and then there's substance abuse as well, which is kind of, again, it's one of these. It's a bit like the violence in the GAA. I think with Daly, it's a joke and it's glorified and romanticized, but he's lost millions and he's had substance abuse issues, and it's kind of like part of his lovable rogue shtick. But like, there's nothing funny about any of those things. He's had 4 divorces. You know, it's again, words like colourful are used about John Daly,
Yeah.
but it's not funny in other
So
ways.
if this is a good movie, it'll be dark,
I think so.
you know, and if it's not,
It'd be silly.
it'll be silly and
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, like Anthony Maras is the director. He directed Hotel Mumbai.
Oh, okay.
So that's who's attached to it. I think Jonah Hill's probably the bigger name there.
To be fair to Jonah Hill, he's building up a very good resume, and you would think he'll have the smarts. He takes himself quite seriously. I think,
Yeah.
you know, you can see that with his attitude to interviews and various things. I suspect he'll have the acting chops and smarts to see the dramatic aspect to all this, not the comedic.
Yeah, definitely. I think Jonah Hill has been really good as he's taken on maybe more careful, dramatic roles in the last decade or so. He is not the actor that we saw from Superbad once upon a time. He's turned it around quite a bit. Even when he's understated, when you think back to, say, Moneyball, where he puts in a really good performance, which allows Brad Pitt to shine, but at the same time, it's a really good dramatic performance.
Really good, yeah.
And I thought that Wolf of Wall Street was a really kind of bloated movie. Maybe that was partly the point that Scorsese was trying to make. But I thought Jonah Hill was really good in that too.
Yeah.
I rewatched that recently, and Jonah Hill is incredible in that film. He's so, he's funny when he needs to be funny, and it's kind of like sad and dark. The rest of it, he is kind of
So
more comic
depraved.
relief than anything else. He's so depraved.
Yeah.
One of the most depraved characters I've ever seen in a film. When you think about it.
Have you watched Superbad recently?
Not in a
It was
few
a couple of
years,
years
no.
ago, yeah.
I watched it about 6 months ago. I don't know what possessed me because I remember at the time thinking it was an amazingly good film.
It's a lot
Yeah.
longer than you remember, isn't it?
There
It's
was
like
that for
07,
sure.
I think, isn't it? Oh, it's a long film. Sorry, yeah.
Like I wasn't pearl clutching or anything watching it, but it was amazing how sensibilities have changed. Like it was just not funny in so many ways. It was juvenile in a very mean spirited way.
There's a whole lot of films around that time. 4-Year-Old Virgin.
I suppose
all
what
those type of things are.
I guess you could argue it's never funny, but not even in like
I know
attempting
what you mean, I know.
not even attempting to be smart or
Jokes on the subject rather than
It's
any
just
sort of.
like base level stupidity.
Seth Rogen appears to be a common denominator in these movies that were named.
I think
so
more
far.
Judd Apatow. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was very striking how it changed. Just
Yeah.
I was like, I'm turning this off. I wasn't doing it. Brad Pitt playing
You're a
Billy
fan?
Bean.
I always like Superbad. I know what you mean about change, but like things have to be measured as of the time they were as well, you know. And
No,
that's like
I'd agree with that, but
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if you
will
watch
I
it
still
now.
find it as funny.
I was like, this is not funny at all.
But it's funny you say like this is we should talk about sport at some point. But have you like I don't know whether we were all of a not a certain age here, there's different ages, but like Eminem was a pretty big deal when me and you were young anyway, Joe, right? I don't know if you ever listened to him, but like still like you can see all the incredible talents that are there. You try listening to that stuff now, it's so uncomfortable and kind of like disgusting. You know, because it's like the casual homophobia, like way worse than anything you're talking about, you know, and it was just so mainstream. And he got bits of criticism here and there, but it was on the fringes. You know, and you listen to it now and it's just like, that is like, I find that difficult to listen to in 2022. Whereas I don't know, there's other stuff that I don't know where the line is, but there's some things you say that was of its time and you wouldn't do it now. And then there's other stuff that's like, I can't look back at that. It's awful. You know, so I don't know. I haven't seen Superbad recently enough to know where it falls.
yeah, have a look and see what you think. So Hill doing Daly, we were trying to think who would have been the best. Matt Damon, Francois Pinard.
No, not the
No,
best.
it's not good either.
Do you know can I give Matt Damon a bit of a pass on something though? Clint Eastwood famously doesn't give actors second or third take. And like Damon saying this accent is insane. The South African accent must be right up there as the most difficult to do. And so he talked about early on, he gave it a go in a scene and he thought to himself, I haven't really got that accent there. And he asked Clint Eastwood for a second take, and Eastwood basically said, are you going to waste everybody's time here with another take? To which Damon said, okay, I won't.
It's the end of this film.
Yeah. So that's tricky.
He's also about like 5'4",
Sure.
playing Francois Pinard.
Yeah.
There is
Locked
that.
forward.
Will Smith, Ali, thumbs up.
Good performance.
Pretty good,
Yeah,
yeah.
not very forgettable enough movie. though.
Yeah.
Richard Williams, he did as well. He was good as Richard Williams. Won the Oscar. That's been overshadowed. Shia LaBeouf did John McEnroe recently. Did anyone see that film?
No.
Borg and
No,
McEnroe. It's like it's almost good. There's
Yeah.
definitely something in that, but they just didn't quite work. We had
Gotta be careful with a film like that.
Why?
Don't do it unless it's good.
Yeah.
Because a Borg and McEnroe film, again, it's like what I was saying with John Daly. It's like we know everything there is to know about Borg and McEnroe. We've seen, like every time it rains at Wimbledon, they show us stuff from it. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
get that right. You
Yeah.
know?
Mark Wahlberg, the fighter, Mickey Ward.
That's
Really good.
Superb,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's great. So is Christian Bale's great in the movie too.
It's only when you see the brother, afterwards they show the real Christian Bale is just a freak, isn't he?
Yeah.
My God. De Niro, Jake LaMotta. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
The iconic
pass.
one.
Go.
Yeah.
We were agreeing. The guy who played Nicky Lauda in Rush, very
Yes. What's his
I was
first
just
name?
agreeing about it.
Is your Google opportunity here?
It doesn't matter.
Where I remember Hemsworth playing opposite him, but is it Brule, I think is his name?
He was very good. It's hard to judge Russell Crowe and Cinderella Man. I mean, he was good as a boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great film. But yeah, we don't exactly know what James B. Braddock was like.
No.
Sorry, Will's looking at me expectingly here.
Let's
It
see him
was
Googling.
Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah, that's him.
Very good.
I can't type and talk at the same time.
Yeah, I thought Rush was generally a pretty good film as well. Kind of one I wasn't really expecting to enjoy as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really, really well made.
If you were to pick John Daly, though,
Yeah.
you kind of like, I don't know, would you pick Jonah Hill? But it makes sense as soon as you hear it.
Yeah.
I will, yeah.
So
He's going right in there. That's going to be great. The hair and everything. I can't wait to see what that looks like.
How will the golf scenes hold up?
Oh, it'd be interesting what
Because
it
you
swings
see,
like.
it's not just like Kevin Costner having to learn golf from Gary McCord in Tin Cup. It's one of the most distinctive golf swings in the history of the game. You could pick a silhouette of John Daly swing out from 1,000 yards away.
Okay.
Because when he brings the club behind him,
Would
he
that
doesn't
bother you now?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Bill Simmons goes on about that with sports movies. It's like it's bigger than the story for him. Is like whether somebody can pitch the ball properly in baseball, or Tim Robbins, you know, in like Bull Durham or whatever. Like his pitching, brilliant film that he clearly loves. But every time he talks about it, he gives out about Tim Robbins' pitching.
I think it's one of the things you have to get right, though.
Have to get it right.
Yeah.
No, he will bother me immensely.
But Jonah Hill again. The Matt Damon problem is there. Jonah Hill's not very tall. John Daly's a big man. Like,
Yeah, well, just look, once he gets... And it actually won't be...
you're going to make little small drivers for him
I don't know.
to make him look big.
I don't know, Michael. Weirdly, it will be easier for him to replicate Daly's swing than like a textbook perfect swing.
Okay.
Because Daly's is so distinctive. It's almost like parody Daly's. So you just have to like throw the club right behind you. But it better look like it, or else I'll be tut-tutting in the cinema.
Tut-tutting.
I wonder what the ratio will
Taking
be
notes.
of golf and off the course stuff
Yeah, I
within
dunno.
the movies. Though.
I don't know. I hope they make
I
like
feel
golf.
like a lot of it's going to take place in a trailer park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golf is very cinematic. I mean, they should really the drama of it, and you've got all these set piece moments. Every shot's a set piece. It's not like all action. It's difficult.
It lends
Yeah.
itself to it immensely. Well.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be a young Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Who's going to play Constantino Rocca?
I don't know. Have the Any Given
his name?
Have the Any Given Sunday action scenes held up? Again, a film I haven't seen in
Never seen it.
What? Have you not?
Wow.
Jeez, that's surprising.
Sorry, lads.
Yeah.
They obviously deliberately shoot them incredibly dramatically with the idea it's meant to reflect where the team are at in the various different points within any given Sunday as well.
Yeah.
Like the shots from, I think it's Ben-Hur, are like interspliced into one of the games where they're losing as well. And it is Ben-Hur, isn't it?
I think so,
Pretty
yeah.
sure it's Ben-Hur. Yeah, like, again, that was
good at the
deliberately
time.
very cinematic as opposed to trying to be, let's say, more authentic with some sports movies that we've watched over the last while. But sports movies can be done really, really well. Did I see the Adam Sandler one, Hustle?
No.
Yeah.
Well worth the watch.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And again, I think they made the very interesting decision in that one to not go for actors trying to play basketball. They got basketball players to act within the movie,
Yeah.
which I think worked out really,
Well, that's
really
the
well.
Bill Simmons point. Prioritize the authenticity. There's a problem with all these movies, though, in that you know it's going to work out in the end. Like, it's not even a spoiler to say that about
Yeah.
Hustle. Whereas John Daly,
We don't know where this is going to end. Though.
John Daly, they can take this in a very interesting place. I'm not sure if the John Daly story is a good story.
It's going to be like the last 5 years of his life. Mix it up entirely.
Well, just like you could make a strong argument, one of the great unfulfilled talents.
He has two majors, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
like he was that outrageous. He should have more, I think. One quick one before an ad break, lads. I have a bugbear. I need to get it off my chest. That's a different slot. When are the GAA going to abandon this idea of all ticket in advance at club games? I've often headed for a game, changed my mind halfway and gone to a different one. Our first half of
Casual that Sunday is.
yeah, I'm not sure you need to be looked after here, Richie. We're not that worried about your predicament then. Or hang on, first half of one game and then nip over to the other for the second half. Also, there's got to be some older folks who can't get the hang of online ticket sales. It's messing me up, destroying my social life. It has to go, lads.
Two solutions to that, Joe. One would be a lot of county boards are already doing it, which you get a weekend pass where you can go to as many championship games within a county as you want to go.
is right up Richie's
which would
street.
suit Richie perfectly.
It's actually the Richie
he's a dream.
ticket, yeah.
The other one is I think that there should be one stall which takes cash outside grounds.
So is that gone now?
Yeah, they're basically nearly every county is now trying to go all ticket. So everything bought in advance, you have to arrive up with your virtual ticket beforehand. I know it's turned some people off from going to games. I think for the small amount of people that you would be accommodating, and I understand why county boards want to do this, where everything has a paper trail essentially with the tickets that are sold, as opposed to having a gate. We've probably all heard of stories of, two mates been ushered in past the cash gate and so on. But the idea, I think, should be there that for the small amount of people who need to use cash on the day, have just one stall open and make it a bit easier. Because aside from anything else, the electronic system can fall down on a given day and say people are trying to buy tickets on the
It
way
is
to the
like
ground.
one of the great kind of things about a club game that you just decide 2 hours before. Go on, we'll go. But I presume you can book it on your phone then.
Yeah,
quick
you
enough.
can.
Yeah, or you can go to a local shop if they're selling them. There's like in different counties, there are different solutions to it. But like
You are
Richie's,
just adding another You're adding a barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to whereas like I completely, as much as Richie's particular predicament is quite specific, there is an element of like I don't know. When I lived in Drumcondra, I would just like decide while already out for a walk.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
to
about.
Parnell Park.
Yes.
and see what's on.
So you can't
'Cause
do
in the
that now.
summer there would be something on a Saturday or Sunday, you
Yeah.
know, and it'd just pop in, you know. And if it was late enough in the game, you wouldn't even have to pay in; they just sort of wave you in. And if it was just starting, you'd pay, and it'd be a 5 or 10 or whatever it was,
So
you know.
that's gone.
It's seemingly, yeah. But there's been people giving out about this all year, like, and it's like initially for county games, and there was kind of conversations about that, but it's all club level now as well. So
I guess for reasons of compliance and making sure everything's above board,
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
you
it's
have
in,
to
yeah.
move that way.
But I think have a gate where you can tap, have a gate where you can cash.
Tap, yeah.
Yeah, and very few people are going to go to try and buy with cash anyway.
Tap's a great shout.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, if it's only cash, I'm screwed. I can't. I'm not getting in either.
my trips to Parnell Park would have required a detour to the ATM these days.
Oh my god! Some kid came to the house the other day. He's running like a 5k for charity, and there was about 10 of us in the house. It was like a family gathering thing, and he was like, he turned up the door, cute as hell. He was about like, must have been 8 or 9. He's like, "Hi, I'm running 5k for charity." It take this kid a long time to run 5k. There wasn't a fiver in the house.
You're like, can I tap your?
He wasn't taking a card.
That's to teachers out there. Got to get them some
Card machine.
electronic setup,
Yeah.
for the knocking on doors.
We rustled up a few euro just to clarify whether we didn't tell him.
Just go. See you, Timmy. Enjoy your run.
No, we didn't do that. Short break. We've lots to get through. We haven't got through much of what we planned to, so we'll do that in just 1 minute. Now you're welcome back. Loads of text into 53106 here in a slight tangent. Emma Stone in Battle of the Sexes is texting. I didn't see that one.
No.
It's recent.
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what the sports scenes were like. Margot Robbie in I, Tonya is another. Guys, bigger than an electric ticket for club games. When are the GAA going to get rid of that stupid odd number underage competition? Absolute BS. Johnny Kilkenny.
Nah, that's another day.
That could be a
Under
whole
17s and
change it back to 18s, change 21s back to 20.
Why do they keep filling around with this? Is that a hornet's nest open right now?
a little bit.
Take a
Yeah,
while, yeah.
there's a lot of issues there that leaving cert related and burnout and yada yada.
Length of gaps for senior as well.
Okay. Brian and Kildare, lads, the greatest game ever played, a great golf movie, 2005. Brilliant true story. Beautifully told about young amateur Francis Uime winning the US Open way back in 1913. Have a look, you won't be disappointed. Yeah, I've seen it. And based on the Mark Frost book, which is top, by the way, top, an amazing story. Shia LaBeouf in that as well. Shia or Shia?
Shia, I think, isn't it?
I think it's shy.
Could be wrong.
We have our winner, John Limerick. This is the ultimate. This is a rival to, although it's hard to beat Robert De Niro as Jake LaMotta.
Okay.
A rival to, we're talking
Yeah.
in that conversation. This Sporting Life, Richard Harris. This is John Limerick.
Keeping a local Richard Harris. As
Seen
well.
that?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Have you not?
Sorry.
So I've read the
you
book.
to watch.
I don't mean to be that guy, but I've read the book and never watched the movie.
Oh, lads.
I remember reading on holidays. It's a wonderful book, but yeah, I always knew Richard Harris had played him, so
Yeah.
I was envisioning Richard Harris's young faces as I read the book.
You've
but
got to.
yeah.
You've got to. The opening scene, he's played rugby league and he gets his teeth
in the north.
gets his teeth smashed out.
Yeah.
It's just one of the most compelling opening 10 minutes to a movie.
It was always on TV when we were younger. I'm surprised you two haven't.
I just never saw it, and again, it was always on the radar. And I brought the book on holidays one time, and it's a brilliant read, like it really is.
A surefire sign that Will's had a busy, quiet afternoon. He's made up a wish list of.
I was complaining in the ad break that we never gave him a chance to.
Sorry, yeah, he was giving out about it. All my work today. So this is a wish list of movie stars to play sporting figures in films that haven't happened yet.
Exactly.
This is like an executive production role.
Yeah.
All right.
So
go on.
I started the other way around. So they were talking about this in OTB AM this morning about Jonah Hill. Just kind of put it into my mind when they were chatting.
All right, okay.
And so the ideas I had, right, one that hasn't been made yet.
Can we get? How are we judging these?
I presume you can just respond.
Marks
I'm
out
going
of
to throw
10
it out
or
there and see. What we
booze
got.
or yay or nay?
Yay or nay,
It's like on a scale of 1 to
Richard Harris.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Okay. But okay, go on.
All right. First one, which has to be made, is Andre Agassi. So his autobiography is like one of the best ever. I think there's been a few attempts to make the movie, was never quite happened.
Yeah, Andre Agassi, agreed.
I'm going to have Colin Farrell as Andre Agassi.
Too old.
I don't know. I think
His
he can,
40s.
Oh, he is too
I think
old.
he can play the penguin.
These lads can make themselves look young these days.
You
Can't
need,
they?
to have agility on the court. You need to be visibly
He'd
I think
have.
I think it'd be fine. Movie magic, lads. And he looks quite a bit like Agassi at Agassi's pomp as well. He shaved his head for movies before.
He's got good facial growth, much like Andre Agassi.
Same eyebrows. He can do it.
Yeah. When is the Banshee finish out?
The premiere was last
week.
Friday, so
Yeah.
it's probably
Oh,
now.
so-
Yeah,
Looks good.
What's the word? Good.
I think generally positive. Yeah, but you're putting me on the spot now. I'm not
Alright.
sure. Yeah, I'm gonna like it regardless.
They'll
I
put
would
that
say.
on the poster, Arthur.
Arthur D, it was grand.
Meant to be all right.
Arthur D off the ball, best-selling author.
Oh dear.
Second one is just
Okay,
like
we're all
cheat.
giving that a yay, by the way, just
No,
about.
I'm not.
You're not.
It's too different. The age. I'm just checking here. Andre Agassi's 52. Colin Farrell's 46.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
He-
You can't.
Such
He'll have to play Agassi as a 20-year-old is the problem.
I know.
Who are you getting to play Agassi
Yeah,
on
but
the
you give him
spot?
a wig.
I tell you what. I didn't like that book as much as everyone else.
Ooh.
Jeez, no.
I didn't enjoy it as much. I like it was, you could kind of tell what it was trying to do, but I wasn't blown away by it as kind of everyone kind of held it up. I wouldn't. I'd probably not make the movie. If that's okay.
And so, what did you think it was trying to do?
Well, I suppose it's trying to tell it. I mean, his story is no doubt compelling, and all his relationship with his father and
Yeah.
the issues with drugs and everything else. But I just felt it was stretching a wee bit. I forget the name of the guy who wrote it,
Yeah, I'll tell you now.
because he did a load of books. I think he did Your Man from Red Hot Chili Peppers as well, and it was almost a little bit. I kind of felt that it kind of, and it could be gone the other way, that it becomes so popular that you almost start to find flaws in it and take away from it.
J.R. Moringer.
J.R. Moring. I'm reading, funny enough, of his book at home, The Tender Bar, his memoir.
He's collaborating with Tiger Woods on a book.
Oh, no.
If he got to Agassi levels, that'd be quite something. Look, I haven't read it in a while, but I remember thinking it was bloody amazing. No,
Maybe I have to go back to it. Maybe I'm being unfair. Like I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying anything. I
No,
just
sure.
I couldn't.
It's
It didn't
not the greatest
grab
of
me.
greatest.
Yeah, it didn't grab me in the same way.
you saw like it starts with him in the shower saying how much he hates tennis.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good for page one. No,
I always feel something like
crystal
that's
meth.
just stretching
Trying
a bit.
too
though.
hard.
It's too much. It's too.
I do know what you mean in that sense.
I'd like something just a bit more. Yeah, that's a personal preference. It's not. It's funny. I am
You're the
reading.
first person I've ever heard say anything negative about it, and I've mentioned a few weeks ago I've never read it. I kind of have it on the list to always read, but no.
It's
And I
worth
think-
reading. Like it is worth reading.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just. Yeah.
You thought it was striving a bit too hard for the torture.
A little bit.
No, I
do.
get that.
And to be fair, some things really still stick with me. It really sticks with me at that point where he's talking about the bag. And it's like the bag can't be like a milligram over what he knows it is or whatever. You know, when he's literally picking it up, he knows if there's something in the wrong place in the bag. And that kind of insight's fascinating. But it just, some of the stuff I just found was, it's almost too intense or too. It's like not that it's fabricated or put on, but it's like
Dramatised a
Nobody can
touch.
live like this.
Yeah, though I mean, some of the scenes are just amazing. Like when he's lost his. I always just think of it as the most extraordinary thing. Where at this stage he's pretty much bald, but he's got the wig. And on the morning of the French Open final, he's run out of the glue that he attaches the wig to his head with, and so he has to kind of like, almost like Ross Geller in the toilet, try and form a paste.
Yeah.
And sticks the hair with some kind of sellotape and paste to his head, and goes out on a windy
Yeah.
French spring day, plays a French Open final, and all he's thinking about as he sprints in, for instance, to catch a drop shot,
Is my hair holding up?
Yeah.
please God, don't let me turn around and my hair is on the baseline behind me. That
Can
is
you imagine?
come on.
It'd be the biggest moment in sporting history
I know.
if Andre Agassi's wig fell off in the middle of a
So I
French
mean,
Open
you
final.
can say, Jesus, it's a bit dramatized, but I mean, that's
No, fair. Maybe. Look, I'm not going to die on that hill.
fair enough. I can tell you're getting antsy here. You only got as far as Colin Farrell.
Yeah, because I'm two quick ones. Because guarantee people are going to have this in the comments on YouTube with their own suggestions and 531.
Oh, yeah, okay, go
One is very quick, which is Michael Sheen again as Brian Clough, but not this time the Damned United, this time Nottingham Forest. So I think he's the ideal guy to play him. But I would really like to see a dramatisation of
yeah.
the next part
No,
of his
yeah,
career.
good.
And he's a few years older now as well to play the part too.
Very, very talented. That speech he did that went viral was
It's amazing. He's a
Quite
great.
something.
He's an unbelievable actor.
Yeah, about the Welsh nationalism or
Yeah.
the more recent one.
another one where it was like, give a team talk to Wales ahead of the World Cup.
Yeah.
Went viral.
Yeah.
And initially you're cringing for him because you're thinking, well, even with the music, this is going to be.
Mm.
And sure, by the end of it, you're
You're ready to fight for Wales.
It kind of that amazing speech brought up an older one that he'd made a few years ago. It was a kind of a Welsh, I don't know what it was, like a party conference or something for Play Cymru, I suppose, but it was very much a kind of what have the English ever done for us kind of speech that was absolutely incredible. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was Yeah, he's an incredible public speaker. But he was a good Brian Clough as well.
Sorry,
Didn't like that film.
Good
No,
Brian
that's. I
Clough.
mean, I actually would
Really?
like the.
Oh no, I didn't. Again, read the book, Arthur. But
You can't have John Giles at 6'2" for no reason.
yeah, loads of stupid things
That was
in that.
dumb.
It was just lazy, I thought, a lot of it. But Sheen was great.
Oh, amazing. Stephen Graham was Billy Bremner.
Bremner's great.
Again, right, here's the thing about Agassi, maybe to a lesser extent, because I think you could get into the book stuff that not everybody knows. But like Clough, and even the Leeds thing wouldn't be the worst thing because it was such a good book. But everybody, Brian Clough's on YouTube. Like, oh, you know what I mean? I just feel like I grew up watching him. Nobody's ever going to do a good enough. I'll tell you, like, Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny Cash. I remember thinking, like, that's stupid. He doesn't look anything like him. But I've also seen Johnny Cash all my life. I've seen 1,000 interviews with him. And Joaquin Phoenix's performance was so good that you forgot you knew who Johnny Cash was and what he looked like and what he sounded like. You know what I mean? So but it's going to take a performance like that to bring you out of Brian Clough. You know what I mean? Even Michael Sheen, I think he did do it, but it was a caricature, I suppose, more than an acting performance.
It was.
You know,
Is Michael Sheen more like impersonator than actor? Like he does Tony Blair. It's like we need
he does
someone
a
to
lot of the
Frost.
Go on, sorry.
Right, one last one because I'm not 100% sure about it. I think Chris Ferguson will get to blame, but Mickey Rourke almost happened, and this is what put this in my mind, which was Gareth Thomas nearly happened. Mickey Rourke had gone over to Wales, had gone to meet him, then the project fell through. I wonder how that would have worked if Mickey Rourke had actually blamed.
Mickey Rourke is like 70 years old.
You know, well, this,
Gareth
this,
Thomas.
The
this is 12 years ago.
the Welsh rugby
Yeah,
player.
yeah, yeah.
He's way older than him.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
don't know how
Mickey
this is
Rourke,
going to work
I'm sure
practically,
can
but
make himself look young. You're worried about the age
If
too
he's
much.
if he's not having Colin Farrell with Agassi, he's definitely not having Mickey
You
Rourke.
can't go the other extreme.
see, it was around about the time as well when Mickey Rourke was having that revival in his
Yeah.
career as well. And he just
No,
put
I know
two
who
to
could
the
play
film.
Gareth Thomas. It's another Welsh. It's isn't the guys from Twin Town. What's I'm
Yeah,
gonna have
I'm
to
not
look that
against,
up
not
now.
against this idea. Chris Reckless, I think, looks like him and is a good actor as well, which could work. But I think Gareth Thomas maybe be really good.
Can we progress
Tangent
on?
away.
There's
Yeah.
just one thing I think it's important to do on a slight tangent this week, and it's to call out Eddie
Reece
Howe.
Evans. Sorry, Reece Evans. That's
Okay.
his,
He's
people.
in House of the Dragon,
People who
okay.
know what we're talking about will know that it's Gareth Thomas. Oh, definitely.
Auto high terror.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe. This needs calling out. So he's done the whole think of the children thing. We'll come on to Man City and that nonsense about xenophobia, but that doesn't even deserve the time of day. So what's happened here, it's hard to piece it all together, but Newcastle sporting director Dan Ashworth came out and said last week that I don't think there's a ceiling to what Newcastle can do. To which Jurgen Klopp said in his press conference, well, he's absolutely right. There is no ceiling for Newcastle. Congratulations, but some other clubs have ceilings. So, you know, it's kind of certainly enough delivered, but you understand what Klopp is saying. So now Eddie Howe has come out again. This is just odd, really, that he's now taking a stand for the first time as Newcastle manager against anything. So he has talked about Jurgen Klopp's behaviour on the touchline at Anfield, and he said how that was really just beyond the pale for Eddie. And so he said, I'm very aware that I'm going to be looked at by millions and millions of people, especially children.
The kids.
And I think you have an expectation to make sure the game is upheld in the right way and with the right spirit. I'm certainly aware of my demeanour and my behaviour on the touchline. Also, my players are looking at me, and what are they going to think of me? I'm not going to be able to help them in the moment if I'm not in control of my emotions. I've got no issue with me celebrating. It's more going the other way, losing my temper, losing control in a negative and aggressive way. I try not to do that, he said, rubbing Jurgen Klopp's hair. I try not to do that, said Eddie Howe. I mean, this guy. Again, I was just reminding myself, if let alone when he took over the job, because his comments there were beyond pathetic about the Saudi regime and the blatant sports washing which is going on. And I know people are tired of that subject, but when you stop and think about what's happening to football, it is actually a disgrace. And so even if you go back to March 2022, that was the weekend when there were 81 executions for some very, very questionable reasons. And, well, executions aren't good to begin with, but I appreciate that. We're not talking about the only country that has capital punishment, but there were 81 in a weekend. And what Eddie Howe said about that situation, which I think is probably more serious than Jurgen Klopp losing his temper on the sideline, is I'm reading up on the situation in Saudi Arabia. And he said, I'm football obsessed, so I prefer to stick to what I know, and I'm hugely proud to represent the club. And still, though, he said, as a footballer, he had more time to pay attention to these issues than he does as a manager. And so, like, he's even like humble bragging here. I was a footballer with a slight difference. Again, this is in March when he wouldn't answer one question really about what had happened in Saudi Arabia or about the sports washing project at Newcastle. I was a footballer with a slight difference. I was 19 or 20 at Bournemouth, and I was getting onto the team bus with the Times under my arm, getting some very strange looks from my teammates, you know, because they're dumb and I'm not.
I like how carrying a newspaper is the, you know,
It's like
the level here.
Yeah.
But I so Eddie Howe, nobody else ever.
Ever. I come from a family where things were pushed towards me and I was quite interested in world politics. I had little more time when I was a player to look into things. Now that I'm a manager, your time is such a scarce resource. That's not to say I don't keep up to date, though. So, I don't know. That was March 2022. I presume he had some time off over the summer. I don't know. But so for somebody who, frankly, has been that questionable, to use a nice word, on the Saudi situation for a year now, to then come out today, and give it the all. Well, I was personally disappointed in Jurgen Klopp, and I would never behave that way. This guy.
It's just I suppose the arrogance reinforced by the fact he's winning matches and speaking to people, journalists most of the time, it seems. I mean, I'm sure, again, I'm not going to generalise everything, but speaking to journalists who are more sympathetic to the situation he's in than most are. So I'd say he feels very emboldened. I'd say he's like, I've beaten the back of this. That's finished. That's done with. Now I'll get on with this. And I've got whatever way he wants to put it, top of the ceiling, all these resources. It's going well. It's only going to get better. I've done it. I'm over the hump, and this is going to be fine. It's pathetic.
Beware the irony of him doing well probably leads to him being replaced as well. But it's amazing to think that in a 4-month period, even if your time is restricted in your reading, he wasn't able to become more au fait with the Saudi regime between November and March of last year.
Yeah, no, he was still
no matter how busy
reading up at that stage. And let's be pragmatic. I get it's very tricky for him to come out and criticise Saudi Arabia. So I get all that. I'm not sympathetic to it, but I get it.
Yeah.
But to come out and go on the attack against Jurgen Klopp for losing his temper on a sideline, spare me that.
As you said, he's
think of
fine
the
to
children.
say. But think about, so he's talking, before he talks about Klopp losing his temper on the sideline, he talks about Klopp's comments. And it's so interesting to see how Guardiola and Howe have reacted to this, because ultimately there is a part of them, and there's a part of me that understands that, like, any questioning of their position, but their club's positions, is a question of the job that they've done.
It undermines it.
So, like, Pep Guardiola's won 4 league titles and he's done this, that and the other. He's got 100 points in a season. You know, he's starting on third base, you know, and he has to know that. But he'll be like, well, nobody else would have got those extra 5 points. Nobody would have won the 4 out of 5. They would have won 2 or 3. But it absolutely undermines it, you know, and they get so angry about it. And it's just, I didn't think Howe would be in that bracket. But looking at him today, like, nonsense talk about, like, you know, we haven't, you know, okay, we spend a few money, but we haven't spent the way people thought we'd. It's like, because we had that conversation. We thought they would buy stupidly. They've still spent an awful lot. I mean, they spent 240 million in 2 transfer windows.
Yeah.
I think
it's the idea that Newcastle aren't spending money is absolute propaganda.
I saw Philippe Auclair was tweeting it just beforehand we came in. I'm pretty sure he said that the highest net spend in the year that's gone in 2022 or whatever. Like, since things like you know,
they're spending lots, but they're just not buying Robinho.
Yeah, it's like we've huge plans and we want to go places with huge ambitions, but the reality of what we're working towards and working with, there is a ceiling because of all the things I've said here and explained every week. Financial fair play. We're still in a training ground that is being renovated. Financial fair play is nonsense. Your renovated training ground has nothing to do with anything. He doesn't have a third example. There is no ceiling to Liverpool or to Newcastle. There might be a temporary one, a sheet.
Well, you get to the point as far as
City, stopping the rain getting in. That's it.
City or PSG, where you get to a point where you put yourself right firmly amongst the elite, but you can't necessarily buy beyond that point, as has been, I suppose, demonstrated so far. So you can't go and buy the Champions League as such. I mean, you're thereabouts. You're giving yourself incredible odds. But, like, if you want to talk about a ceiling, but it's nonsense. Like,
you still have to win football matches, but that's like,
you know, it's nonsense.
But even look at the evolution they're signing Isak by comparison to Chris Wood last year. They've already started to step it up at this stage.
Yeah.
But of course they have. And I mean, like, their fans would be fuming if they didn't. And, like, that's understandable. But we can give out about Eddie Howe, and rightly so. I mean, that's like idiotic comments, I would say. And, like, Guardiola, I think, in the same boat. The problem I have, and I'm sorry to repeat myself because I was talking a bit about this in the news round, is again that we're having this conversation on a level that treats what everybody is saying as the same. You know, it's like, oh, well, Klopp has a fair point there because that is true. Oh, but, you know, Like Newcastle, they haven't spent the way we thought we would, you know. So it's been very measured. You have to say they're doing a good job. It's like that's an irrelevance, you know what I mean? The how they're spending the money is not relevant to the conversation of whether an oil state should own a football club, you know. And it's just, I don't know. It's just this obsession with giving both sides of every argument that just so frustrating. False equivalence is the exact term. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, are we going to 51? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're out of time. We saved that.
I was going to ask about the Jan Ullrich book.
Oh.
What did you think I was going to ask about?
We have an email that we were supposed to get to, but we'll get about the Qatar World Cup. But we'll.
Oh my God! Sorry, that was meant to be the first thing we were going to do. Yeah, it was literally the first thing.
We can push it back a week. It's about boycotting the Qatar World Cup.
Movies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We did 45 minutes on
The Qatar
John
World
Daly.
Cup is still going to be an issue next week.
That's completely on me.
And
Sorry.
text about how good the GAA is.
Copied and pasted that whole email in. I'd read it 3 times, ready to go. Oh my God! Sorry, that's majorly bad. You're a good man.
55 seconds.
You came to us during a couple of months ago, and you said there's a biography of Jan Ullrich, not in cooperation with Jan Ullrich, which is great, and we should do a piece on it, which we really should. And I just saw the other week it was shortlisted for the William Hill Sports Book of the Year. So you know your onions. Why are you saying the Jan Ullrich biography is well worth a look?
Well, why is it worth it? It's brilliant. It's brilliantly written. I didn't know anything really about him beforehand. Brilliantly researched, though. Obviously, just the amount of places he's went. It's just so brilliantly told. It's an incredible story, and so I don't know how much you know about Jan Ullrich, or I suppose like anyone else in sort of prime cyclists in the late 90s to early 90s was embroiled in drugs, and it's fascinating. Him born in East Germany in Rostock. He's about whatever age, late teenage years when the wall comes down. He's this kind of, all of a sudden by 97 he wins the Tour de France, and he's like this, or 98 maybe, and he's this unifying figure in Germany, like, and it's like almost like the way that sort of Becker was with Wimbledon, that kind of level fame, albeit in different circumstances. He has that. They even look a little bit alike. It's odd, but like, in terms of like, it's not just, I suppose, a biography and thing, but it's just in terms of the way it's cultural critique of a country and a people and this transition that I didn't really pick up on between East and West. I didn't know anything about it, when it's kind of the melding of them together into a unified Germany, the complications of it, the bitterness sometimes that the West treats the East as they're kind of almost backward and sort of yokel. You can't really, anyway, it's fantastic. It's absolutely incredible book. Incredible book. One of the best sports books I've read in an awful long time, by Daniel Friebe, I think.
Right.
F-R-I-E-B-E.
We're going to try and get him on the show, are we?
Oh, he's willing to come on. You just have to read it next.
Big.
You could do a brief from there, Arthur.
Big.
That's coming from the author of a best-selling sports book
indeed,
as well.
indeed.
Can't get that on either.
We're out of time. I just thought, speaking of Boris Becker, Damien Lewis, a younger Damien Lewis for Boris Becker would have been a good one.
Or Chesney.
Who?
Chesney.
Hall?
Chesney Hall?
No, from Coronation Street.
Him and Michael.
We're out of time. That was a slight tangent. We'll be back, if not next week, maybe in the next week or two. A slight tangent at offtheball.com.
Still on probation.
It is on probation. A slight tangent at offtheball.com is where you can email us, and we'll get to your topics. We will talk to you when we talk to you.
Off the Ball on News Talk.